Everything changed when you departed without seeking retribution. You deserved peace more than they did, not because they didn't deserve it. There was a time when words could have ruined them. You were aware of their flaws and secrets, and you knew exactly where to hit them to inflict the same kind of pain. And you kind of wanted to. After the deceit, the betrayal, and the sleepless nights spent mentally reliving conversations, you wish you had recognized the warning signs sooner. It would have been simple to get revenge. One public truth, one message, and one exposure. However, you opted for quiet instead. Distance was your choice. Instead of carrying their guilt, you decided to leave with your dignity. And that choice, which at the time seemed insignificant and nearly undetectable, turned out to be the most significant action you have ever taken. Because something strange occurs when you don't seek retribution. You don't contribute to their demise. You don't become resentful. You don't allow their actions to change who you are. Your integrity remains intact as you depart. And this is something that most people are unaware of. You stay emotionally connected when you want revenge. You are set free by silence. You offered them absence while they anticipated drama. You left in peace while they were getting ready for battle. And something changed during that silent departure. In the whole narrative, in you, in them. We will discuss why it's not weakness to go without taking revenge tonight. It's the instant you take control of a power they never anticipated. 1. The evening you came close to doing it. Let's be truthful. At first, you didn't depart amicably. One night, perhaps more than one, felt like the right time to get revenge. You were holding your phone. Your heart was pounding. You had a clear, bright mind. They believed you would never reveal the truth, but you had the screenshots, the texts, and the proof. And you were very close to doing it for a split second. When everything fell apart, you could picture their expression. You pictured the fright, the embarrassment, and the disbelief. They deserve this, a part of you muttered. They didn't hesitate to harm you, after all. Your tears didn't cause them to lose sleep. They made their decision to put themselves ahead of you without hesitation. Why should you be the bigger person, then? The tension is that. That's the conflict within your chest. Because retaliation is more than just rage. It's confirmation. It's evidence that your suffering was important. It's a means of yelling. You are not allowed to leave unharmed. And it feels strong at that very moment. However, an unforeseen event occurs. Not a sign of weakness. Not fear. Lucidity. Something uncomfortable begins to dawn on you. You are still emotionally circling them even if you annihilate them. You remain attached even if you fight. They still have influence over your energies if you want retribution. Abruptly, the question shifts. Now that it's over, how can I harm them again? Why am I still allowing them to have access to my tranquility? The true change starts at that point. You put the phone down. You remove the draft. You decide to remain silent. They have no idea that the most dangerous version of you was the one who chose to remain silent. However, they were unprepared for what occurs when you leave without taking revenge. 2. The unsettling silence. Nothing happened at first. No strong response. I'm not sorry. Don't panic. Silently, you left. The world continued to revolve. That's the part no one discusses. There's an odd emptiness when you decide not to take revenge. No parting remarks. No satisfying ending to the film. Just quiet. And you wonder about yourself for a second. Did I allow them to prevail? Was there anything I should have said? Are they even bothered by my absence? That's the risky phase. Because ego seeks a response. Pain seeks recognition. Erase what was going on underneath, though. Something you couldn't see. They were holding out. Awaiting the outburst. Awaiting the exposure. Awaiting the mayhem. Because their actions would be justified by anarchy. You would appear shaky in chaos. They could say, "See, I told you," in chaos. However, you failed to provide them with it. You offered them something far more disturbing. Lack of presence. Not a single text. No posts that are indirect. No outbursts of emotion. Simply vanished. And when there's no reaction, something uncomfortable begins to grow. Curiosity. They begin to question why you aren't battling. Why do you not stand up for yourself? Why don't you try to win them back? Space is created by silence. And thoughts become more audible in that area. Did they think less of you? Did they miscalculate how strong you were? Are you truly finished? Erase the twist, though. This has nothing to do with their emotions. It has to do with your current situation. Because you become a little more detached every day that you remain silent. Your nervous system relaxes every day when you don't react. You regain control every day that you refrain from seeking retribution. Everything really begins to change during that silent retreat, but not in the way that anyone had anticipated. 3. The exit's power. A week goes by. Then one more. You anticipate feeling lighter right away, but instead you experience something strange. Silence. You are no longer debating in your mind. You can stop practicing what you ought to have said. You can stop wondering if they have noticed that you have been silent. At first, it's weird. Almost uncomfortable. Because taking revenge would have kept the flames going. It would have provided a vent for your rage. You would have felt boisterous. However, it's silent here. And something starts to happen in that silence. You begin to sleep in a different way. Not flawlessly, yet without your chest's jagged edge. You don't immediately think of them when you wake up. You don't worry about whether they will notice when you make plans. You chuckle. It also doesn't seem forced. One day, you come to an almost shocking realization. You are no longer upset. Not because they expressed regret. Not because justice was served. However, you no longer require it. It really changes at that point. Because seeking revenge, even if it leads to conflict, keeps a door open. That door doesn't slam, though, if you leave without taking revenge. It dissolves. You are no longer standing outside of it. You are not holding out for their knock. If they did, you are not thinking about what you would say. You are in a completely other place. This is the section for which they were unprepared. You do more than simply preserve your dignity when you walk away without taking revenge. You raise yourself up. Anger could never make you untouchable. They have nothing left to battle. There was nothing left to defend. There is nothing left to twist. Just the lack of you. Furthermore, absence speaks louder than retaliation. You quit playing their game the day you departed without taking revenge. And things started to change after that. No one can undo the change. You believed it would be weak to leave without taking retribution. It felt clean instead. There was no last explosion. No hurtful remarks you will later regret. There is no damage to repair. Just a silent choice. I'm not going to become what wounded me. And that choice had a significant impact. It shielded the part of you that still has faith in love. Your gentleness was shielded. Your character was safeguarded. Because taking revenge would have shown that you were harmed. However, self-control demonstrated your strength. Weeks pass between days. Weeks turn into months. And when you wake up one morning, you discover something surprising. Your chest is no longer where they reside. You don't feel your breath catch when you hear their name. They don't have a burning memory. You are not provoked by their quiet. Destroying them didn't win. You prevailed by completely outgrowing the circumstance. And this is the reality that changes everything. since you undergo change. And the person who leaves with dignity never needs retribution. Why you didn't fight back won't be understood by everyone. Strength is perceived by some as being loud. They believe that exposure equates to power. They believe that winning entails causing the other person to lose. However, you made an uncommon choice. You made the decision to go without being resentful. You made the decision to bear your suffering rather than return it in fragments. You made the decision to put your character before your ego. Furthermore, such level of strength is not in style. It doesn't produce sound. It doesn't look for praise. It subtly changes you. You will remember the version of yourself that nearly sent that message one day. Who nearly revealed everything. Who nearly gave in to rage. And you will be appreciative. I'm glad you didn't sacrifice your tranquility for a brief moment of fulfillment. I'm glad you didn't compromise your principles to fit their actions. I'm glad you left with your morals intact. Because taking revenge would have kept you involved in the narrative. But you were set free by dignity. You didn't simply walk away from someone. You left behind a wounded version of yourself. And everything is altered by that. Have you ever left without taking retribution? Have you ever swallowed words that had the potential to ruin someone? Have you ever opted for quiet over chaos? Today, I want you to try something different. Don't say anything about them. Make a comment about you. Put this down below. I guarded my tranquility. Not to prove anything. Not to demonstrate power. However, as a silent admission to your own heart. Because sometimes giving up without attempting to win is the bravest thing we can do. If you are ready to get past your pain and stop responding to it, subscribe to Delete Psychology. When you went without taking revenge, you didn't lose. You changed. And evolution is the kind of triumph that no one can take away from you.